Hey guys, we're going fishing. I'm gonna take you guys up to Thompson today. We're gonna try to do a drift that I've actually recommended no one does because it's a little bit hairy. It's high water right now. I don't know if we're gonna pull it off, but I'm gonna take you guys down to Thompson. I'm also gonna teach you guys a little bit about the Thompson. Why? I actually think it's a river that needs more friends. It's had some major concerns on steelhead fronts, had some salmon concerns, as well as some conservation concerns. So I'm gonna show you guys how you can get involved in helping out this amazing river. And I'm gonna teach you guys some tricks on the trout fishing on it, because it's kind of an overlooked fishery that not many people do. So I'm gonna walk you through the bugs. I'm gonna walk you through my general tactics on the Thompson, and you guys get to come along for the ride. First little tip, guys, this river is slick as shit. You're gonna wanna make sure your boots are up to it. All right, let's get on the road. All right, so we made it out of the lower mainland. Tip number 2, don't travel up here on a long weekend. Traffic was nasty, but at least on the canyon drive, it's usually a lot clearer because not a lot of people come up this way. And so here's the deal with this trip. So I used to live up on the Thompson River. It's probably one of my favorite rivers on the planet. I was bonkers about steelhead when I was sort of in my late teens, early 20s. And after coming off 4 or 5 seasons of trout guiding, I had a really good friend who I guided with, and his parents had this epic ranch up in Cache Creek. After we were down at the trout lodges, I said, hey, what would it cost for me to rent this old beaten up cabin on the back side of the ranch? And they said, you know what, help out around the ranch, you can have it for free. Fish your brains out, just help us with the cows around the ranch. Now, I was a city boy, had no clue what I was doing up there, had a ton of fun shooting guns, chasing cows, hanging out on the Bonaparte, which was the river that was both sides of this ranch. You guys are going to see it. It's super cool. But I haven't seen them in 10 years. My buddy Lloyd, I call him my redneck brother from another mother. So we lived together for, I want to say 4 years of guiding, and we lived together in this awful old trailer. It was called the Dream Home. I can still picture the blue paint on it. It was probably from the 1950s. I slept on the couch. Literally, we put shotguns in our beds because it was fairly common that wildlife would come in and muck with camp. But it was some of my favorite memories. And so we're gonna go visit him. Why? Because, well, besides being an ex-fishing guide, he also rafts this river a fair amount. And so we're going to try to tackle a part of the river that I recommend no one go on. Now, it's gonna be a challenge. I'm looking at the Fraser as I'm coming along here. Oh, and by the way, I don't know why it got cloudy on us. It was supposed to be sunny all weekend. If you guys watched the Friday fishing report, I'm sorry. My report said sun all weekend, but right now we're getting like thunder and rain. Mildly entertaining. But the Thompson's puking. This year, if you guys don't know, besides a very interesting 2020, we've had a fairly wet one. And the Fraser right next to me here is disgusting. Let's go take a peek at it just so you guys can see. So no clue why we're getting lightning. There was supposed to be no rain in sight for this weekend, but this is the Fraser and she looks disgusting. Super dirty. I don't know what the heck is going on with her. We're having a really funky season. And that is obviously not actually what you want to see if you're heading up to the Thompson. This guy puking mud, but God, she's a powerful river. Pretty cool to see. Big shout out to the guy that does the Friday fishing report and said it would be sun and no cloud or rain for the entire weekend. He nailed that one. So, interesting storm. It doesn't maybe bode well for what we're doing this weekend on a nasty drift. We'll see what happens. Hitting Hell's Gate Tunnel as we speak. Mildly fitting. All right, so here we are. This is my favorite stretch of the highway. It's windy as heck. You gotta pay attention, and I probably spend too much time staring at the river, but she looks okay. She looks better than I thought she'd be. As you guys know, I've been watching river levels pretty closely, and it's really high for this time of year. Historically, you want to fish this river last week in July, first 2 weeks in August, and that should be prime, perfect water levels. Right now, we're probably I'd say a meter above perfect water levels, and she's chunking. But what I was worried about was the color, and I think from what I'm seeing, we're okay on the color. The fish are gonna be able to see. There's a lot of water coming over those rocks right now. I've seen water coming over that rock, but that's still a lot of water coming through here. Oh well, we'll see how she goes. So we got 45 minutes to my buddy's place. I'm sure he'll want to do some hilarious redneck stuff. So it'll be redneck stuff, drink some beer, sleep, drift tomorrow. All right, quick stop. We got to get some supplies. At least this place is still here. Case of Lucky for old time's sake, and bottle of Jameson's. Let's get up to the ranch. All right, well, here she is. And that old container is still there. I love it. And it looks almost the same. Hello! And look at these guys. What do you think? All right, the audio is gonna be crap on this because I'm not filming with a mic, but tip number 4, I think we're at right now. See this big piece of water? See them down there? Down there? You won't catch much in that flat stuff. You'll catch a few, but what we're looking for, water up here. Moving water, stuff where the oxygen's going, stuff where the food is coming down on them. You can find water like this, not slip and fall and break yourself. You're gonna be in the game. Let's see if I can make it over these rocks. Like I said earlier, get cleats. Woo! That one almost got me. Well, so much for any video stabilization, courtesy of the Thompson. Let's see, where can I put you guys?
Well, that session didn't suck. This drift was epic. Big shout out and thanks to Lloyd and Marlena for coming along, and Tonka for being the guard dog. We hooked well into double digits, and I didn't get any really big fish, but there were definitely some fish of note that peeled off a bunch of line and put a smile on my face. Now, the trout in the Thompson range from this little guy here all the way up, I've caught fish as big as 24 inches on a tape, and that's pretty spectacular in the big water. Unfortunately, we had to pull the pin on the Black Canyon drift. It just wasn't safe. We probably could have done it, but we would have had to think more about the whitewater rafting than the actual fishing. And that's sort of the problem. That's why I don't recommend guys go down there, is you've got to have your wits about you and you have to have some experience. But don't worry, it's already in the cards for next year. We've put it on the calendar and we're definitely going to do it again, hopefully when there's a little bit lower water levels. Overall, the drifting was actually fairly easy this year with the high water. It actually smooths out and makes the normally challenging stuff quite easy. So it's good to go if you guys want to get out this year, but I would recommend lower water if you're trying to push the envelope with some bigger rapids. So where can you drift? Well, there's a couple relatively easy ones. The Savannah Lake to Juniper Beach is excellent, super easy. You'll be able to hit that one with some common sense, some life jackets, and a little bit of rowing experience. Juniper down to Ashcroft is another good one, but you want to make sure you know where the pullout is and you don't miss it, because if you shoot over the Ashcroft pullout, which is just across from the Bonaparte, you will be going into Black Canyon. Now, skipping Black Canyon, you can put in again at Martel and drift all the way down to Gold Pan, or pull out anywhere in between, say Spence's Bridge, or anywhere you've got access in there. Before anyone gets chapped about secret spots, I'm not going to give any of those out, don't worry. I put boots to ground and oars to water to find, and so I'm going to leave that to you guys. That said, finding the kind of water is important. I can share a little bit of my insight there. What I look for are those big classic runs with bouncing water at the top, and I fish right into the bouncing water, sometimes throwing right into standing waves, as long as they're a reasonable sort of walking speed or fast walking speed. When you're humping around on foot, you may not be blessed with being stuck on the right side of the river and get a bunch of opportunities to hit water like that, so hit everything. Anything with bubbles, anything with bouncing water, anything that can get some oxygen in as well as some food in. I love big riprap banks. They didn't fish well this week, and I think it's because of the high water and I didn't really want to go to nymphing, but fish everything that moves. Cover a ton of ground. If you're not getting fish in the first handful of casts, it probably means they're not there, and I recommend moving on. Now, on the way of flies, well, there's big stoneflies and lots of hoppers on the Thompson. There are caddis that you see quite commonly that come in a brown, and there are sometimes mayflies, but nymphing a brown or black stone or a girdle bug is an absolute no-brainer. Now, I love throwing the big stuff, the big hoppers. I love seeing fish come flying out of the water, and so sometimes I will just stick to that. And my go-to there is going to have to be the California Blonde. It is a great pattern, covers a lot of bases. There have been weeks where it's the only fly I put on. That said, there's a bunch of big ugly hoppers that are recommended, and I definitely have a few smaller brown caddis in my box. They're the elk hair style ones, as well as humpies do excellent for me up there when I'm hitting water that may not be as bouncy. Another tip, I also recommend taking gink and powder floating with you. It just helps revive the fly after a handful of fish and keep it floating in the big water of the Thompson.
Okay, tip number, 5, 6, I can't remember what we're on. You're coming through Cache Creek and you're gonna be exhausted, you're gonna be hot. It's hot up here, you gotta stop here. This place is the Junction Coffee House. Doesn't look like much, but it is fully recommended. Let's go get a shake. Well, thank you so much. It's delicious, keep it up. Have a good one, I will. Okay, well, that stop is always critical. Again, that's the Junction Coffee House. They are amazing for this cool little town to have a really good coffee shop and milkshake shop. So, where's my car? We're over here. So, tune in there, support the local businesses. That one's recommended.
Why I did this, like I said, is the river needs friends, and also the areas around it need friends, so the coffee shop is a perfect example. Spence's Bridge, Cache Creek, and Ashcroft are awesome little towns and totally worth supporting. They haven't had it easy in the last decade, and there's lots of closed stores, lots of shut down gas stations, lots of boarded up areas, so stop by, buy some beer, rent a room, drop by for a coffee or a shake. You won't regret it. Just make sure you can do it in a socially responsible manner right now and respect the locals. On the regs front for the Thompson, she's open from May 31st on, but there is a window before May 31st from May 1 to 31st above the CNR bridge downstream of Deadman River and upstream of the Bonaparte, where you can fly fish only, and it's pretty cool fishery if the weather's right and the water level's right. It doesn't always happen. Normally I fish this one back end of July into August, as long as there aren't a ton of salmon around. The salmon can muck up the trout fishing, but you can fish it all the way into the back end of September, and it can be excellent just as long as there aren't a bunch of salmon in the area that you're fishing, because it seems to turn the trout off quite a bit. It's obviously a barbless fishery only. There is a retention. You are allowed to keep fish, but I really encourage guys not to. It's an under 35 centimeter restriction. I personally practice all catch and release because I love these fish. I find them precious, and I don't think it can sustain a big catch and keep fishery. That said, it needs some friends and it could sustain a few more anglers, so get out there and enjoy catch and release and have some fun with it. Last tip, this one's a good one that you will get bitten on your first time up to the Thompson for sure, and that is the trains. Now the trains sort of add to the feel of the Thompson. It's sort of part of the river, but there's train tracks down each side and there are constantly trains rolling past. So that may not mess up the fishing at all, but it does mess up your sleeping arrangements if you're camping anywhere near the river. So tip number 6, I think we're at right now, bring earplugs if you're heading up this way. You will thank me later.
Well guys, we're done for the day. Just took a shower in the river. It's been 4 days without civilization, so it needed to be done. Hope you guys enjoyed coming along with the ride for me, fishing the Thompson. Day 1, we might not have fished too hard. Maybe had a little bit too much fun with the locals, my friends up in Cache Creek. Day 2 was glorious. Caught a ton of fish. Thank you so much, Lloyd, for taking us out. You still got skills on those sticks, even if they are a little rusty. 2020, it's been a great year, awesome year. A whole bunch of things have gone right, including water levels. But that said, still glorious. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And with that in mind, hopefully you can come up and enjoy this river for yourself, but it comes with a little bit of responsibility. Maybe buy a coffee when you're coming through Cache Creek, and also support the fisheries. So 2 ways you guys can do that. There's the Public Fisheries Alliance, making sure that there's access to great fisheries like this, as well as the Steelhead Society of British Columbia doing great biology work, fundraising work, and conservation work for steelhead, which are one of the major concerns obviously on the Thompson. And we're gonna make it even easier for you today. We were talking about coffee, but we started a program called Buy a Fish a Coffee, and literally that's what it is. You buy coffee every day, $3, $4, heck, at some of the nice places it's $4 or $5. So for $3.50, it's all you need to donate. Links down in the description. Super safe, super easy. Plug in your credit card. You do it every day at the Starbucks or wherever you get your coffee. And 50% of that money is going to go to Public Fisheries Alliance, and 50% of that's going to go to Steelhead Society. Let's see if we can raise a few $100 for them. All right, guys, I hope you like this video. If you want to see more videos like that, I'll throw some fun ones up here for you to keep watching. And as always, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We'll catch you next week.